Three, two, one. What is up, everybody? Keith Jamison, a.k.a. Gator Guy 231 across the TFS industry. It is Friday morning, and we're ready to break down what I think is actually going to be one of the more interesting Bundesliga slates, because we actually have the big guys in the slate, and we have a huge favorite, and then a Bayern team versus a half-decent team. So I think it's going to be an interesting slate. Here with Lee Snyder. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to a slate with some teams that people outside of diehard, Bundesliga fans will recognize. And we've got some matches with some higher totals, so it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I mean, the only change or not change of pace is that DK still somehow sees Joshua Kimmich as a defender. And then, one day I want to be in the room of DK pricing, which is probably just a computer. It's not an actual guy. And just figure out, what qualifies as a defender and then why every defender cannot be priced for their production.
I think at this point, I mean, there's got to be somebody checking it, the work the computer does, right? And I think they're seeing all of the outrage from people like us, and they're like, let's just leave them there.
The problem is there's not enough outrage. It's like 7 of us. And they're like, it's the same 7 of us that are like, why don't we have Portuguese Premier League? I was reading that chart. It's cool. Or, who is it? Trippin that wanted soccer achievements. So it's like, we're over here screaming about little weird things. Or who cares about these guys?
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, are we going to get a 7-game Danish Super League slate on Sunday? That's what I'm asking for.
I think it's crazy to me that they pumped it all out, all this time out to get the Danish league, and then a much better league shows up on Thursday with some big worldwide teams, and they're like, "Nah, we're done." But we're gonna do a 3:30 Korea showdown tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I mean these K-League contests are insulting at this point. I mean the top contest is like a $300 prize pool.
Dude, I was late for a minute. I was finishing my K-League. I couldn't decide which one of the insanely priced guys. It's a mess. It's a mess. But let's get back to the fun, which is going to be this 4-gamer. I think that the roster construction really is going to be interesting. I made a little bit of – I got a couple of people off guard when I said fuck the goals earlier this week and then played Silva and cash. But because, you had to. You didn't have any money. You had too much money. So
yeah, I mean, when we saw those lineups come out, no Bittencourt, no Rashica, that changed everything. All of a sudden you could do basically whatever you wanted, so –
yeah, and I talked about a little bit on my preview, but everything is contextual. If you had a Bittencourt or a Rashica, you would have played them over Silva, but you didn't. So everything changes. Anyhow, I'm not going to worry about that. We're just going to jump into this and have some fun talking about the slate. So the big favorite, and really what's going to decide the slate, is going to be Leipzig, minus 769 at home. Bayern is the second biggest favorite, is minus 212. And I honestly, I want to get your opinion on that. I think they might be the GPP team, because that's still getting really close to a 4 total, and they're a minus 212 favorite, with everybody jumping onto Leipzig getting close to minus 800. Don't you think that that's just all those Bayern pieces other than Kimmich are going to come under own?
Yeah, I think so. And Bayern is they just always seem to play these games where, they end up, even against a good team, they end up winning 3-1 or 4-2. So you get a lot of production for GPPs, and especially a guy like Muller, just sitting there as the 4th highest priced forward. Or maybe he's 3rd, but yeah, I think you could definitely get some lower ownership on them, which is kind of weird to say.
Yeah, or Gnabry, who can't find the goal lately, but play this 2 weeks ago, and he's probably everybody's how do I fit him? And everybody's like, oh, you're not playing him.
Yeah, well, I'll never forget about him because he absolutely murdered Spurs in the Champions League.
I still remember my hardest thing, at least I got a lot of him, was I was still debating him or Coman, because I think at that time Koeman like filled a forward slot and Gnabry didn't. So it's crazy to see how different that is. And then obviously his domination with the national team. I just on that point though, like I was thinking that this like totally feels like the slate that like Lewandowski scores like 2 or 3. And you see people that go, well, if I knew Lewandowski was only going to be 21% owned in GPP, I would have had a lot more. Like, I feel like it's that type of slate.
Oh, that would be great if that's the case then.
I won't have him, though. I'm too much of a sucker for minus 800. My GPPs maybe outside of like one are going to just be like, how do I interchange Leipzig, which I feel like is what everybody's going to do.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of ownership there. So you have to think about that.
Yep. Then the other part, Frankfurt, really got the short end of the scheduling stick, so to speak. They're minus 103 at home, and they have the DFS god that is Philippe Kostic. Was enjoying Laird's tweets this week that was talking about how he's breaking his projections because he had just to go to the second page to see what he's projected at crosswise. I mean, we'll get to it, the construction, but like, right now, do you see a way if you see him out in that wingback position that you can fade him?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of jump right into it.
Yeah.
I see a way. Yeah, like I went through a couple builds last night, and I had this 2v2. I mean, this is an initial build. Who knows where I'll end up, but you might be looking at a decision between like Kingsley Coman and Kostic or Nkunku and Angelino, right? So
I'm excited. We're on very different builds, so I like this. I think this is really good. Then, I know which build you're talking about, but I think so. Let's jump right into it then, because I do think that the single biggest decision on the slate is actually going to be less if it's Kostic. I think it's all about forward. Would you agree? Like that's going to decide the slate.
Yeah. What end of the salary range do you want to be at?
So let's just talk about it right now. So I think let's just assume that this is a bubble, and let's assume that Leipzig, because there's a chance that Leipzig throws like a wrench in this, and like a Lookman or a Forsberg starts. I don't think that it's like a high likelihood, but there's a chance. So let's talk that they go ahead. They start Nkunku, they start Schick, they start Werner, they start Angelino. Which two forwards are going to be where you're going? Because I think that's going to be the majority of the DFS cash community is what they're going to do.
All right, so we're talking of Werner and Nkunku and Schick are all in?
Yeah, they're all in.
Yeah, I guess Nkunku is going to have the highest ownership because of the set piece role.
Right.
And then I think people probably go to Werner after that because of the scoring odds, and maybe Schick goes the lowest owned, even though, I mean, his salary is attractive, but I think people look at him just as this goal-dependent guy. So, yeah, I'd go Nkunku 1, Werner 2, Schick 3 in terms of ownership.
Correct. Yet I think on the sharper community, you might see that flip-flopped. So that's going to be my argument, because I think when you play enough builds together, and we're going to talk about some of the other like really good pieces, but I think it immediately becomes that Schick fits a lot of your builds actually, and that the pieces that you can interchange is if you're going to go in Nkunku or Werner. Do you know the builds I'm talking about?
I don't think I've played around with it enough to see that now.
I'll probably give them enough of it away. But so tell me this though: is Timo Werner, who obviously I think we can safely say, with all respect to Robert Lewandowski, has the highest ceiling on the slate. Like he has 4 goals upside, given his goal scoring, given the total, given the crap opponent. But is that worth $3K versus Patrick Schick, who's playing a similar role and who also loves to shoot? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think there is a high opportunity cost on the slate with that 3K, just because you have other guys on Werner's own team that have big upside, and then you've got Byron in a good spot, and I mean you still have Frankfurt in a pretty good spot as well. So yeah, if you're playing Werner, you're really giving up a lot. So I think that's the question: is that opportunity cost worth it?
I think the funny thing too normally is that you go, okay, if I'm gonna like fade Werner in cash, I'm gonna throw him in GPP, but like from an ownership leverage standpoint, it's kind of the opposite. Like he's going to be so heavily owned that if you're going in GPP and you're going for the top, like you've got to actually figure out some other spots to differentiate, because if not, you're just going to run into like a 55% Werner, and it's, you know, if you just have like some shock builds, it's just going to be you're not going to have enough differentiation.
Yeah, I agree. If you're playing Werner and GPP, you just need to be thinking, okay, who am I pairing him with that's going to differentiate or put up the highest score. So
Yeah.
yeah, the ownership will be high there.
So I'm going to sort us out on like the construction. So like Kimmich, we kind of already brought up. I don't even think we really need to like talk about it. Like it's stupid price. He's taking a monopoly of Bayern sets. It's a 3.75 total, minus 200. Like look at his logs. 16.8, 20.4, 18.2, 20.9, 12.5, 19, 14. Like, and he's 6,200 in definitive eligible. I have like no clue what DK is doing, but I mean, he's going to be the highest owned player on the slate. Like that can immediately, if you go Werner, like there can be your differentiator. But I think for an optimal or a cash build, it's the first guy in. Yeah, am I wrong?
No, I mean you're basically getting in Cuckoo's stat line there for 6,300 at a defender position,
And,
right?
and less of a sub risk.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're definitely getting 90 minutes. Whereas with Nkunku, he played 90 last match, I believe. So I feel like this is the one where he gets pulled early. That's a concern I have.
And I mean, I here's the thing, because I put Nkunku on the screen because I think more players than not are going to start off with those two. You know, the primary set guy on the biggest team that also, you know, plays in an attacking role in Kimmich. I think it like Nkunku is actually like one of my favorite leverage plays off. And, you know, sometimes I go weird in cash, and I could totally see myself on Saturday morning going, if Angelino's in, only if Angelino's in. But can I fade Nkunku? And I think there's an argument to be made that you can.
Yeah, I mean, if both Nkunku and Angelino are in, I would prioritize Angelino perhaps because you're getting half of the set pieces still, getting open play crossing, and you're probably have a better chance of getting 90 minutes out of him.
And I like that. And maybe this is where we're going to differentiate. I don't really see the builds that you're getting to Angelino unless you're fading Kostic. So is that the kind of the point you're making?
Well, yeah, that was what I alluded to earlier, is that like, do
Fading the
you
guy.
feel, I mean, Angelino's in the better matchup. He's
Sure.
cheaper, and I think you're probably getting a similar floor.
Cool.
Um,
I'm bringing the heat before 7
yeah,
p.m. I like it.
but in terms of like high end of ceiling or just ceiling in general, yeah, Kostic is on a different level. But I think there's certainly like there's a game flow in both of these matches where Angelino matches Kostic.
I think that's fair. I definitely can see that. I guess, like, tell me this, and if you don't have it handy, it's fine. But like, so from a floor perspective, like I would say, given the matchup, given everything in a bubble, Kostic's floor is what, like 15. You think that's a pretty fair number?
Yeah, that sounds
Angelino's
right.
like 10 to 12, right?
Yeah, 12.
So if you just go pure floor, I agree completely. But I do think that like a big part that at least I'm trying to do in my DFS game is trying to factor in the ceiling, because you go Kostic is at least twice more likely to score than Angelino. Like that's not Angelino's role. Like he's not getting in those parts of the field for that. So I don't know. I guess, man, it's hard. It's really hard fading the guy that's breaking RotoWire projections.
Yeah, and look, I'm not sitting here saying I'm definitely gonna fade Kostic. I'm just saying there's an argument where it makes sense.
Well, I see it, and the build actually. I mean, like, so here's the thing, because you literally have me we're shooting and I'm thinking and trying to like put it all together because the build, if you have that extra $2,200, gets so much easier. But then you literally are like doubling and tripling down on Leipzig.
Yeah, and so I think when we get to defender, I think there's an interesting conversation to have that
Well, so let's
that
go. Let's go to defender then.
yeah. All right.
So let's go to defender. I'm assuming you're talking about Brzezinski.
Yeah, so let's assume for a moment that he's starting, right? If that's the case, when he came on last match, I believe he had all the sets
Yep.
at that
Only for
point.
half and still pumped in 8 crosses, 10.4 DK.
Yeah, so 5,600, you're getting all the set pieces. That's awesome at the defender position. But if we're talking about upside and ceiling, do you want to be using that salary on a guy who's an underdog, and not on a team named, Leipzig, Frankfurt, or Bayern? That would be like my devil's advocate argument against Brzezinski.
Yeah, so let's kind of show people a little bit what we're talking about. So we're gonna go in Kunku. I'm gonna go your build. I think in your build you probably can get to Brzezinski easier.
Right.
Like, where you go in Kunku, Angelino. Let's assume that now with that savings that you can get to Werner. Let's go Brzezinski. I think a really interesting, and I think one of the big decision points is going to be what the heck happens with like Leipzig and our American wonder, Tyler Adams, because I thought it was really interesting. What was it? Was it a showdown? Like the weeks are blending in. I don't remember if it was Friday or if it was Monday, whatever that last showdown was, where Kevin Campbell went down in warmups. Adams subbed in for him, actually pushed Lamer into the middle. Adams went and played like wing back, or like it was like a pseudo wingback system. If you look at the heat maps, like he was almost like playing as like an attacking winger, and Halstenberg was back almost in like a back three, but he pumped in 5 crosses. So for everybody that says he can't cross the ball, there you go. But he's 3,700. So is he one of the value guys that you've kind of been toying with?
Yeah, if he's starting, I think I'm going to be all over him because, yeah, like put aside, what his strengths are, how talented he is. You're getting 3,700 for a player that's going to be pushing forward, getting involved in the attack for the biggest favorite on the slate. So it seems like a no-brainer.
So on your build, I was just playing with it because I haven't played this type of construction really with Angelino because I just the god finds his way into all my lineups so quickly. But so in this build, you actually can't go.
No, I would probably be getting rid of him.
And then the chalk goalie is going to be Herder Adakti,
Yep.
whatever his name is, which means that he is the goalie that's going to get negative. I know Bundesliga. That's what's happening. Then you're in that 4,500 range. Which
and look who we're 100 short on.
Who's that for? Oh, Rudy. Oh. I joke with that, but like he totally is fine. I get it. See, that's where I think though that too, like this Nkunku play right here is what's really interesting because I can get Werner in this build, and then I have 3K and whatever.
Yeah.
I know there's actually like Danny Latza has taken a corner before. There's one time I've seen it. Vasilidis has been popular the last few slates. Geiger, if he's ever in, like he takes some sets. So there's some plays down here. So that build works. It's just going to be really hard. Werner's really going to decide the slate, man. Like it's crazy to say that there's like a minus 500 something to score.
Yeah, his implied percentage to score is like 78%. It's right. Absurd.
It's kind of crazy because that's normally guy we plug in, but like he's actually going to decide the slate, because I think the case to fade him is so strong, just because of the options that are available, not only on his team but like Kostic. Just like, because here's the thing, Werner can be minus 700 to score. He can score, get like one more shot, sub off because they're up 3-0 because Schick scored, and just to like piss us off, Sabitzer scores. Because nobody's going to play that guy. And he has like very big ability to break the slate without sets or anything. But those two score, they're up 3-0. Like the fixture congestion has been crazy. Werner subs off, and he has like 15 DK. And then Kostic is still in. They're down 0-2, and Kostic is on his 26th cross.
Yeah, I think Kostic, he's certainly the safer option in that sense because it looks unlikely that he would come off before 90.
Except
The
for they
risk
played Wednesday. Except they played 2 days ago.
Yeah, but he strikes me as one of those guys that just, I mean, look at his log. Does he ever come off early? No, not really. Yeah. Like, well, every team has one of those players where for whatever reason the coach will just not take them off, and he seems
Maybe
to
it's
be that
because
guy.
he's just chilling on that left wing. He's like, guys, like I'm not here to track back. I'm here to cross it. You guys know, you know my role on the squad.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the risk with Kostic though.
Okay.
If Andre Silva scores a goal in the 12th minute
Yeah.
and they go up, right, then you're probably not going to get your value out of that 10K. So that's the risk there.
I mean, sure, we can say that, but like I guess I've been doing more and more because I'm like such a conservative player that sometimes the moment that a guy has a corner, I'm like, oh, like it's just like all of a sudden everything in me is like, okay, I got to play this guy. But like, so those defensive type of midfielders like Rudy, which I think is okay this like considering his price, but like these 6K defensive midfielders that have most of the sets. Like that's the kind of player that I really got to like work on not being so attracted to, and looking more at these guys that do have sets, but their shot floors aren't crazy. Like 73 shots in 28 games. So like to me, Kostic is like you're still getting forward upside with the shot floor, and then you're just adding a crossing floor like nobody in the world has.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing with him is like his 1 goal game is like a brace for Werner, just based on the way they
Exactly.
score.
And that's or I mean, here's actually the crazier thing too, is he can not even score. Like let's say like your game flow 100% is how that play goes badly, but let's just say that he doesn't even score. But like let's say it's a 1-1 type of game most of the way out. He is probably matching a Werner brace with just an assist.
Yeah, no, if they're
If you get a goal, like that's where you're talking about 30 plus.
Yeah.
So I just think that's the hardest part. So maybe like the big decision or the reality is it's not only Werner, it's Kostic. Like so it's both those plays. But I'm just playing around here, and this is kind of where I've been falling on a lot of builds. I don't want to give too much away, but I think these are 5 like popular plays. But if you go Schick over Nkunku, you still have enough salary here to make it work. And so I'm wondering, like, if there's no Brozinski, I think he's the guy that throws a ton of wrenches. But if there is no Brozinski, I wonder if this is the type of build that we see a lot of people kind of moving to.
Yeah. Well, I think an interesting thing about this build is by playing both Werner and Schick, you're kind of like giving yourself more equity for those Red Bull goals. So,
Yep.
if only one of them has a brace, you actually could be okay if the other has a nice floor game. So
yeah, like this is the one where you get the goal notification and you go ooh, like, and you want to run to it versus you get the goal notification. Like I don't know if you have this, and I'm like looking down, I'm like, oh, don't be Schick. Like if I faded him, right? Like I hate that feeling.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of those slates where, if you don't have enough Red Bull and your phone starts buzzing with goal notifications, you're just not going to want to look.
So this is the build, though, that the Red Bull goal notification comes up, and goal 1 is Sabitzer, and you go, okay, I got time. 5 minutes later, goal 2 notification comes up, and it's Nkunku. And then the third one comes up, and it's Angelino, right?
Yeah.
And then your guys sub off, and you're just like, well, that escalated quickly. Where's Showdown? But I just think it's interesting. Like I think that like the 2 of the 3 Red Bull places at forward is going to be the chalk. it's Kostic versus Angelino is the next decision. And then from there, it's like Brzezinski. If he's in, like, are you going to go that build where you maybe lose a stud, but you get more balance? Am I missing anything, or are those kind of the slight decisions?
Yeah, I agree. So let's go back to Brzezinski for a
Yeah,
second.
go for it.
If he's in, but then we get one of those random center backs who's playing out wide for, less than 3K. Do you go there or do you go Brzezinski? Because I think if you drop down to that value play, then you could spend it, up on a guy from whether it's Red Bull or Bayern and get more goal equity.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think on this slate, I'm going to be goal equity. As much as like I want to say just screw all the goals, I think that you when you have such big favorites, and like Schick and Werner aren't like normal strikers, they both just have an irrational like willingness to shoot too. Like Schick's goal last game, if you watched it, was outside the box. It was a shot that like, you know, most strikers don't even take because it's just like the equity in it. Like the goalie should just catch it and they should be giving up possession. It's not even one that he has to parry a lot of the times. And the guy just throws it in. Like I played him in cash, so I was like freaking out when they were talking about it being an own goal. I'm like, how is it an own goal when he shoots it? But like I guess my point when I say that is there is a floor on a Schick and a Werner versus like the poacher guys. The poacher strikers are the ones that we want to watch out for. That, you know, Chicharito, like that's the guy that like the poster boy for you probably don't want to play that guy in cash.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I think I've discussed this before, but if you are just looking at the floors of Nkunku and Warner over the course of the season, I think Warner actually might have a higher floor
It is.
average.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's a layered specialty right there. But I mean, especially because Nkunku for the longest time wasn't playing a lot of 90s and was on a split. Like if you at the beginning of the season, Sabitzer was taking a lot of the corners too for them. So I think it's probably increased. Like if you probably look at his recent 10, it might be a lot closer. But I don't know. Like I just sit there and go, is 9,800 for a split set? Is that actually like a trap? Because assuming Angelino's in, it's a split.
well, even if Angelino's out, Halstenberg is back. If he starts at left back or left wing back, he could be on corners too.
Well,
So
he hasn't taken corners in a while. Like I've seen him take some free kicks, but if you go back, it's like 3 or 4 games ago. But if you go back, there's a sample of Angelino playing wing back, Halstenberg in the back three. Because that's the thing. Like if you see Angelino and Halstenberg, understand Halstenberg's in the back three, but he still took a free kick. But his corner duties have been done. So I do think that you can go ahead and.
yeah, but I swear there was a game where Angelino was out, and then
He jumped on a few.
Halstenberg jumped on a few because he was playing in a more advanced position.
It could have been. I don't have that log handy, but I'm pretty sure that game in Kunku still was taking most of the both sides. I'll update it on my sheet on the site, and I'll probably tweet at it later today. I'll see if I can find the samples. But yeah, I get it. But if you play Halstenberg, anybody, take my head-to-heads, please. I just think that.
Well, no, I was just raising the point that I don't think there's any situation where Nkunku has 100% of sets, regardless of lineup.
Look, and I think that's a good point, and that's really where it becomes, because at 9,800, like I don't think it's a free square. I just really don't. I personally don't feel like it's a free square. And let's just pull up his logs. I mean, he's been great since we got back. But, can I make up 11.3 DK somewhere else? Absolutely. So
yeah, that's not going to cut it on this slate if that's what you get.
Can I make up 48? Not so much. And I mean,
four assists.
And that I think that's where the heartburn this slate is going to become. Is just like, and why it's such a fun slate in a way, just because there's a build that you can build without Warner and feel really good about. There's a build where you can play Werner and Schick, and then you go, oh crap, no Nkunku. And then, anything in between, and it's just all about those other pieces. So I do want to just go over like one other. You already mentioned that Mainz might have a fill-in outside back, which immediately we know in the DFS community right now it's getting sharp enough that the moment a cheap fullback starts, everybody gravitates to him. But what say you, Lee Snyder, and why is a PK taking center back not like a free square? Is this not the World Cup?
I mean, he's the next. Forget Hinteregger. Just take a center back that takes PKs.
So I mean, the sample is one PK, right? Like that's good enough to project forward.
It went in, so he's staying there. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, they were only down. I think I don't remember the game flow. It was like 5-0 or 6-0. I'm still like ready for Man City to come back. And like Ederson's PKs, like he still hasn't missed one in training for like months. And he's been sending videos to Pep virtually showing him his PK. And he's like, just let me at him. And like that first showdown Slate, he scores out of PK. Oh my God, I'll die.
What's this guy doing for defensive work? I mean,
not much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no negatives.
Well, I feel like this game against Red Bull has a yellow card and like 4 fouls committed written all over it.
Just so when people like look in the lobbies and find me, if there's not a fullback and I show up with the Uwe Hunemeyer, like don't hate. Especially, oh man, I'm just like so excited for the tilt when like Red Bull's up 5-0. And because I personally don't see. Let's go to goalies so I can just curse a couple goalies before we get out of here. But like I don't see builds that you play Golaski, like even in GPP. I think it's just like that's asking for 3DK. But I'm really excited for the guys that play him. And my Uwe gets a PK in like the 87th minute and puts the Golaski people that were just shooting for 10 DK and into the 3 DK range up 5-0. That'll be great. So you agree though that Haradaki is the chalk, right?
Oh yeah, I see a ton of ownership going there. People just are going to assume that Byron puts a ton of shots on net and he gets his saves. Yeah.
So here we go. I'm going to make Haradaki people happy. I think there's a really strong case to play Zingurli over Haradaki. So, like, when you're just talking about who's going to, like, people that are playing Haradaki, it's not because you think he's going to get, like, a clean sheet win. It's just because you have less Leipzig than Bayern, right?
Yeah, well, I think people feel better because he's on a better team, right?
Well, and because, like, you have Werner and you have Schick, or you have two of those three. And when the goal comes, it's still worth 12 and not 10. Because if you have the opposing keeper, you lost points. But, I mean, who's more likely to see 10 shots?
I mean, probably Zingari, yeah.
I don't know. It's just like one of those things that we immediately, like, the strategy has become, like, or touted, that you play the goalie that you don't have the exposure on the other side. So you only have Kimmich. So you're like, oh, I'm not worried that Kimmich scores, but then Gnabry scores 4 and it still sucks, right? But, and, it's just not like, because Leverkusen is a much better side. So I don't know. I just think that there actually is more potential floor on Zingurli than Haradaki.
Yeah, I agree because, I mean, if you just think about the game flow, like Leverkusen can play, they're a solid team, right? So I think you're going to see like Byron might have less total shots, but they'll probably be more clinical. Whereas, Paderborn's probably just going to pack it in here and just let Red Bull fire shots from outside the box, and those will be easier saves hypothetically.
So that's like literally my exact thinking. So everybody that has Haradaki and their holders should just get really excited because I mean I am on like a streak of like 5 straight not getting negatives after 4 straight of getting negatives. So I'm on a great run of like some 0s and 2s at keeper. but I don't know. I plugged Hradecki into my first holder, and I actually saw that if I did Zingurli, I actually get a couple of like better punts in like the
Right.
utility range. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's worth noting. All right. So before we get out of here, I want to do we'll do a couple like just quick fire to you. So who is your guaranteed goal on this slate?
I mean, how obvious are we going here?
I don't care. Go for it. How about this? How about the guaranteed goal not named Timo Werner?
Guaranteed goal not named Tino Warner. I'm gonna go with let's go with Schick.
Yep. And I kind of set you up for that because that's the answer. So then it just becomes so if Schick's your guaranteed goal, how do you play Nkunku over Schick?
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
That's why I did that. But all jokes aside, I do want to do this. Like, who do you think at midfield, or this is what I'll leave on, more floor points, Kostic or Angelino, points per dollar?
Point per dollar.
Point per dollar.
Angelino.
I think it's fair. And I asked that question because you've now argued enough to me that now I'm going to have to sit on that for a long time, because I immediately dismissed Angelino because of the price and the construction he puts you on. But if you just go point per dollar and you go, that whole, like, I want Red Bull exposure, I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a really tough slate to build for.
Yep. And all
decisions.
this being said, we were knowing the way Bundesliga and just soccer in general goes. It's going to be 8:30, and we immediately get, like a Koundé from Mainz, or like watch there be like no Kostic out of rotation, or just something like that throws everything into a wrench. And all this time that we just spent this morning, and all the time you spent building holders, all gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, this just a word of advice to everyone who plays this slate. It's like, don't get caught up after the first goal or two. Oh, I can't believe I faded that guy. I should have played this guy. There's going to be plenty of goals. They're going to happen in the second half, so just sit tight.
Yeah, just and when Lewandowski scores like 5 goals in 13 minutes, don't tilt your face off. It's going to be something, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a great GPP slate too. So once again, Lee, I really appreciate the time. Hope you do well tomorrow. Any last final words? Actually, promote your YouTube and your Twitter channel real quick.
Yeah, check me out at DFS Advisors, the channel covering soccer, almost every slate, and in League of Legends too, if you're into that.
Grinding the esports arena. And then obviously find me at Gator Guy 231. All my stuff is on the FSI YouTube channel as well. Guys, have a great day. Good luck Saturday. Take care.